Let's kick it off, guys. Thanks for joining us on another exciting edition of Baseline Tech Talk Tuesday.
Special edition too.
Yeah, we're here for season 2, and Dan reminded me episode 7. And if this is your first time joining us, you can catch all of the exciting replays on the YouTube channel, Baseline Web Training, all one word, on YouTube, as well as all the other sort of how-to short videos that Dan's been making on a regular basis to try to provide more scalable training content for all of you. So catch all the replays there. And I did want to make an ask to you guys. You know, we're part of our initiative for 2021 is to grow this Baseline Tech Talk Tuesday audience. And one of the best ways that we can grow this, not just us, Chris, Dan, and I, but for all of us in our community, is to invite a friend, right? If everybody on here invites one friend, all of a sudden we have we have double the size of our community. So you can do that by emailing, texting, calling your friends, and having them go to baselinetechtalk.com. And that's where the registration link is. And maybe next week we'll have twice the audience.
That'd be awesome.
So
I love it.
That's my ask for the day. And quick intros. We've got Dan Conger, training manager. I'll go second. Myself, Andy Humphrey, irrigation technology consultant for Baseline. And then I'm going to first hand it over to Chris, because you can see Chris Wright, VP of Sales, coming live from the factory. So Chris, why don't you tell us what you've got going on there?
Yep. This is the first episode from Baseline corporate headquarters for Tech Talk Tuesday. I drove up yesterday, and this is my first time to the office in 1 year. So 1 year ago, this week was the last time that I was here. So it's good to be up here, and you can see I'm coming to you live from the manufacturing floor. There's activity going on all around me. So we thought we'd give you a good inside look at the corporate facility and the manufacturing floor if you've never been here.
Yeah. And as you stay with us, Chris has got some things to share with you that we're going to hold. But throughout this episode, he may have a couple interesting pieces of technology to flash in front of the screen. So stay with us.
I'll make sure it's only technology that I flash.
Ooh, there's that unfiltered part. Sometimes filtered good, Chris.
Yeah.
All right, Dan, What do we have in store today?
We're going to talk about mobile access and taking Base Manager and App Manager on the go. So when you're not in the office, you're not in the field. That's what we want to talk about. So App Manager and Base Manager, they're great tools for managing irrigation systems. They're fantastic interface from a desktop or a laptop. But when you get out in the field and you're going to do a seasonal blowout and you want to do testing, that isn't going to fly. Maybe you can bring your laptop, but we're going to talk about the devices and how you're going to access that. And that's really mobile access. And that was really built for a simplified version while you're out in the field. So with that, I've got a few things I wanted to share, and then we'll go into a demo here. So let me come over to my...
You bringing up your phone right now?
No, actually, I'm bringing up my, I've just got a few slides, and then I'll go to my phone. So first off, I wanted to kind of remind everybody about App Manager. And App Manager and Base Manager are similar, but they're different. So App Manager is, I like to refer to it as a suite, and I don't know how you guys describe it. It's a suite of tools used for irrigation management. So within App Manager, there is Base Manager. There's Pipe View to get a view of the hydraulics of your structure, of the way your system's running. You can do some administration tools. You can add new controllers. It's a suite or all-encompassing way to include multiple tools. So then the next part of that one is Base Manager. So Base Manager is where you're going to do most of your heavy lifting for programming on your controllers, right? So you can set up maps, you get a quick view dashboard, we can set up our schedules, we can name devices and do our flow setup. So we're generally where you're going to do your heavy lifting. And then that's probably where you're going to do most of your work in your office or at your home. But when we get out in the field, mobile access is really where I want to spend most of our time with. So I'm going to flip over. Now I will flip over to my phone and we'll kind of do a live demo on mobile access.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
And,
cool. Nice.
I think it's cool to mention that the work that you do in Base Manager in terms of adding descriptions and naming zones or naming control points, whatever that may be. It will then show up and reflect with the same description in MobileAccess.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's excellent point.
Yep. And Dan, right before you move to your phone, I want to just mention too that, a lot of you guys on this call today are power users, super users, regular users. And so it might be that some of the things that we talk about, you already know. And so I wanted to remind you all that part of the reason we make these Tech Talk Tuesdays is, number one, to entertain everyone. Number two, to provide some value. And number three, so that we can repurpose the content. So somebody coming in new to Baseline this year or next year, can learn about MobileAccess and perhaps watch this recorded video that goes through MobileAccess. Even though a lot of you on this call today use it, know what it is, that's the other reason we do this.
Right. And what's interesting is when I find in trainings, every so often I'm repeating things, and I thought, well, I almost apologize. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm repeating this, but it takes a couple of times for things to stick. And then there are things that people just don't know about. So I don't want to take it for granted that everybody knows about it. I would agree. Our power users absolutely got this figured out and understand it, but not everybody does. Okay. So, I'm taking a little bit of a risk here. My phone is live.
I'm just going to say I'm entertained by looking at the apps that you have on your phone.
Yeah, I know. So let's see if my wife or my girlfriend texts me right now. So fortunately, my wife doesn't watch this. Okay, so we're going to start off. Well, let's go to the right screen. This is my work screen. The other one was my personal screen. Okay, so I've got a folder set up with things I'm going to be using for that I use for Baseline tools. And I want to start off by saying Baseline Apps looks like a application. It is not. This is a website that is mobile, that is maximized for mobile or whatever screen size we're using. I have created a desktop or a phone top bookmark on here. And if you want to know how to do that for iOS or Android, hey, I put a tutorial up on YouTube so you can figure it out. But it makes it super convenient rather than going to baselineapps.net.
Yep.
The other thing I do with all of my devices, I save my login, right? So it just speeds this process up.
Yeah, so remember, Dan is in a web browser like Safari, Internet Explorer, or Chrome. He's bookmarked that, added it to the home screen. So when he clicks the link, it launches the browser, his password is saved, and now he's in.
Absolutely right. So this brings us into App Manager, which would be very similar to a desktop view, but here we have all the different components of this suite, right? We've got the Base Manager, MobileAccess, Pipe View, etc. I'm going to jump into MobileAccess from this view. So we're going to click on MobileAccess. And the first thing that you notice about MobileAccess is once I get to my right controller is I don't have the map view. Right. So this is a smaller screen. If I go into Base Manager, I can get the maps, but the maps on, this tiny screen is just not going to fly. And especially the older you get, the harder it is for you to see this little tiny stuff. So, this is a slimmed down version of Base Manager that makes sense for a small screen. Yep. So we can't do everything, but we can do all what I think are the critical things while you're out in the field. So we can, manually run a zone. We can start a program. We can stop operations. So let's take a look at manually running a zone. So when I open up my zones here's the different things I can manually run my zone. So I can scroll through all my zones that I have. And in Base Manager, when we were working on a desktop, we had the ability to custom name zones. And those custom name zones are on every instance that we log in with Base Manager, but also carry over to the controller. Well, they're here now, right? Because when I don't have a map, these names become really important. So knowing that number 4 is the sprays at the south parking lot, that's really valuable. But when we look at zones 14, 15, and 16, that doesn't tell me anything, right?
Right. Yep. So it makes it more powerful as a remote control. So you, when standing in the field, know what zone you need to operate without having to guess which zone it is, or keep hitting zones or going through them sequentially to get the one to turn on that you are expecting to come on.
Right. The better you name them, the less guessing you have to do, and hopefully no guessing.
Right.
So I'm going to turn on zone 5, and the default is for 10 minutes. I can change that to whatever time I need, and then click it to start. And the message has been sent. It's starting the countdown, and it'll change color to blue watering in just a moment here. And so then we can manually run a zone. But if I want to, I can easily advance into my next zone. So we're on zone 2 right now. I can advance to zone 5. I can do zone 6 or 7, that same 2 minutes, and I can start it. So I can do this for every single zone. So scrolling through these arrows is a quick way to run through my zones that I want to run.
And hey, Dan, real quick, I noticed, well, first of all, this is your demo controller, right?
Absolutely right. It's my controller that's here in my office 10 feet away.
And on that previous screen, can you click back to manual run zone again? And just to any zone. I saw 2 flow meters there. So I kind of wanted to point out that if you did have 2 sources feeding your main line, you would see the flow coming from either both flow meters, or if it was just one, just the one.
Right. And since I'm running this actually in a engineering test mode, there's no water running through it. But in the field, or if I had this in my yard, yeah, you'd be seeing that. This controller I configure so many times each week that I wouldn't dare run my irrigation off of it. So we could start and stop programs, which is the next one down. So I can't create a new program. I can't do it through MobileAccess. I can do it through Base Manager. Again, this is limited. And where I think the value comes in is I could run any one of my regular zones, but look at zone 99 or program 99. That's a system blowout. So if I'm going to run, or maybe it's a test program, I've got those set for a couple of minutes in each zone, and I could start this program, and I'm going to use it once a year, right? So this comes back to the having 99 programs on a base station 3200. Let's start taking advantage of those multiple programs and don't reinvent the wheel every single year. Just turn it on or manually run it when needed.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of flexibility.
Exactly. Now, if I'm out in the field, I can test devices. So I could come up to a moisture sensor, and I could test a moisture sensor and see, well, first of all, is it actually working? I could get electrical results, and I could see what the current moisture content is and the current soil temperature. And I could do this even in the off season. So Andy's not irrigating right now. I am. But if the controller is still powered up, I could test it and find out, is the soil starting to thaw out, or is it not? Yeah,
and Dan, what I've seen too there's some users that prefer to collect the data from the moisture sensors, but not run it in full automation mode. And I've seen users actually in that sensor name record field capacity. So if they were to test the sensor, they would know. How wet is it compared to field capacity, and AKA full. So if they want to run or make a decision about watering, they know, how full their soil is or how dry, wet it is.
I think that's brilliant. So they're not using it to automate it. They're just using it to make better decisions manually, which that's great. That's great. I mean, from a water management perspective, just knowing what's going on in the soil is huge.
Yeah. They don't have to go to site and stick a probe in the ground to take a core sample to see how wet their field is. They can just pull out their phone and test the sensor that's installed in the field.
Cool. They're very nice. So we could also, now you mentioned the flow status, but I could also I could check flow status from the flow status screen as well.
And in some of our larger sites, you may have multiple water sources, multiple main lines. And so it's really kind of fun sometimes to turn a zone on and see which water source it's coming from, or if it's feeding, depending on where that zone is on the main line. One source may be producing 80% of the water and the other source is producing 20% just because of the location in that piping system.
Nice. Awesome. You could set a rain delay. And then I wanted to spend a little bit of time on this geolocate device, because I don't know about you two, but I'm particularly impressed with geolocated device. So geolocating a device I think it's a really convenient way of creating that map that you have in Base Manager. So that map in Base Manager will have your color-coded pins or icons in different locations around your site. And it's not uncommon for any of us to log into someone's controller and find that they haven't set up the map. And it's always kind of disappointing because it's a wonderful tool and it's really convenient to use. You can use it to just see what's going on your site, but you can also use it as a zone map, if you will. Well, creating that zone map can take some time. But with the geolocate, we can walk the site and actually put those pins on the map in real time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a lot of users, a lot of facility or municipal users. Let's say you have a large sports complex, that'll walk the site and do that. And then when the time's convenient back at the office, they may move them around a little bit and make the map look a little bit more pretty, if you will. But they get them on there and labeled with the right zone number by just, verifying it with their eyes.
Right. So I'm gonna mark a couple of zones. So I'm gonna mark zone 6. And I'm inside my office. My accuracy is 16 feet, which is pretty good. I've been inside concrete buildings and you get 30-foot accuracy, but 16 foot's pretty good. We're going off of the GPS chip in the phone and cell tower configuration. So you may or may not have as good a location as this one.
Yeah. And if anybody has experience, drop in the chat with us, the lowest you've seen. I know what the lowest I've seen, which is better than 16 feet, not 1 foot. But would love to hear, what you guys have seen too.
Wow, that's what's interesting. Yeah, I'd be curious to hear what people have too. Yeah. So I'm going to mark this device, and I watch what happens near where it says "mark device" in blue. When we do this, we get the coordinates, right? So we got the latitude and longitude coordinates, and if you're really quick, or if you watch the recording, you could know exactly where my house is. So it's taken the location of my of where I am right now, and it's placed zone marker 6 here in my office. Now what I can do is then I can walk or drive to the next zone, and I'm going to move to zone number 7. I just arrow to zone number 7, and standing at the valve box or wherever, I can mark zone 7, and those are placed on the maps real time. So we can, it's a quick way to set up a zone map. You could just, if we could do this really quick, I could have Andy drive the truck or the cart, and I'm just going to hang out the passenger side, and I'm going to move from valve box to valve box and mark them.
Mm-hmm. All right. We've got Jim White has seen 11 feet before.
Ooh, nice.
And, again, it's just as a reminder, this isn't meant to be an exact GPS locating product. It's designed to drop a pin to be convenient, save time, and be a reference point, but not really something that you would use later on down the line to find exactly where that valve box is hidden under the turf.
Right.
Yeah. So if you do walk a site and you drop a pin and you want to know where that valve box is, and the pin shows up on the map and it's 16 feet away from the valve box, then what can you do to get it exactly where you want it to be?
Oh, to actually place the pin where you want it? Oh, yeah. Great. Well, then come back into desktop view, click on that pin on the map, and just drag it to really where it is. If you know it's right underneath that oak tree, then drag it right underneath the oak tree, even though your field measurement wasn't 1,000% accurate.
Yep.
Yeah. So far, Jim's leading here. He's got 11 feet. Anybody else seen any better? I've seen better, but I'm going to wait to see if anybody else has a response. So when I've set up zone maps for my years as a contractor, the other thing I've done is it's we did the general area that is zone water. So generally this is zone 17 and generally this is zone 18. So the other thing you could do is don't mark the valve boxes, just mark the end zone, the center field, or the infield and the outfield. That's the area that's irrigated. Then that 16 or 11 feet, that doesn't matter, right? You could have 30-foot accuracy and that'd be plenty. Yeah, everybody has a little bit different spin on how they want it to look on the map, and of course, sometimes you have a manifold of 2, 3, 4 valves in a box, or sometimes you have 4 boxes side by side and you simply can't put the pins, stacked. And so, yeah, there are definitely personally, I like to represent an area so I know what the area is versus the actual location.
I would agree with you there, but you're right. Different water managers. Well, and if you're an irrigation tech versus a water manager, you might have a different desire for the way it's laid out as well.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. We've got Nick Curry has seen 10 feet and Craig Stockhouse has seen 8.
Oh,
yeah. Good. Well, I've seen 8. So far 8 is the lowest. If anybody has seen better, that would be great to know.
Yeah, I haven't seen lower than 8 myself.
Nice. Okay. Very cool.
Yeah. And again, we're using the cell towers. So Nick asks, how can we improve that? We're using the cell towers to locate that to the phone, not an actual GPS satellite, locating equipment.
Yeah. And it's possible with the add of additional 5G towers, as we get more towers erected, then that accuracy could get better and better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Wi-Fi, we do use Wi-Fi as well, can help with that. Dan, you're probably picking up Wi-Fi, I'm going to guess, because I can see your phone's connected.
True. Yeah. Yeah. So we could do this for just about any device any device that's in here, but we also have the opportunity, let me come back into this one, so we could locate our flow sensors or event switches or temperature sensors, but it could also create a custom locate and create a custom marker in here, which would be good for a pump station, a water meter, things that don't have unique baseline serial numbers. So you have the ability to do that from this screen as well.
Where's the backflow on the site?
That'd be a custom marker.
Yeah.
Because we haven't, until we start selling Febco 825 YAs, they won't have unique serial numbers. So I wanted to come back up. Let's stop this. And I wanted to talk about the devices that we might use for this. So right now we've been talking about a phone, but a phone is a good source of that, but it's not the only source. So, a phone, logging into Base Manager is going to be problematic, and it's not going to be as not problematic. It's not going to be as smooth an experience as using MobileAccess, but MobileAccess doesn't have all the features of Base Manager. However, I got to make a plug for a tablet. I think a tablet of any sort is a great compromise, right? It's you can have a cell card in it. It could be enabled. You could use it Wi-Fi or however you want to use it. And you're going to here in this tablet, I'm using Base Manager to bring up the map view, but I can also switch to MobileAccess, so I can have the best of both worlds. Now this map is it had to scrunch a little bit. It's chopped off a little bit versus my desktop view, but I can use this as a remote control without the words and just visually touch zone 76 and turn on 76 or test zone 64 and the like. So that's my plug.
Yeah, and it's important to remember too that MobileAccess, why it was designed to be that remote control, right? And it's where we're at with MobileAccess now is almost basically version 1, other than new devices have been added to the screen. But it was there, initially to give somebody that what used to be a, walkie-talkie radio remote connected directly to a controller, give somebody that same experience just through a web browser. But it really wasn't designed as version 1 to be the full app manager suite in the mobile version. It was designed to be that manual control in the field, like an old-fashioned remote, so to speak.
Right, and I think the certainly for us the days of a big bulky remote in an OtterBox, waterproof case that you'd carry around or clip stuff on, that is so archaic in our mindset. It's still a real thing in the world. But it also needed to be able to be used on anybody's phone, right? Even the least expensive phone with a browser needed to be able to run App Manager, because when you think about either the field personnel or the maintenance personnel that work for the city, county, park, municipality, sometimes they don't have the latest and greatest fancy phones that can run all these apps. And so it was basically a version of a web browser that any phone could operate, iPhone, Android, etc. Beautiful.
Chris, well, should we segue into some of the stuff you've got
we can
with you?
Perhaps if any of you have ever met Bonnie Wood and Irina here at the factory, they just did a cameo walk by behind me. So,
and you might need to housekeeping. You might need to bring the mic up closer. You're a little soft.
Am I a little soft? All right.
There you go. That's a better.
Okay. So we do have a couple of questions that we need to address that came in. Tom wants to know if the mapping can be used for other properties that they have that may not be baseline sites. And the maps are associated with a controller typically. So I don't know if that would be possible to add a site or a company to an existing account that doesn't have a controller on it, but we'll have to look into that. The other question that came in, Chris Siacek wants to know if the tipping rain bucket is available yet, because he saw it as in the quick view, or
saw it too
as the status. Yeah. So I think it is populated in firmware version 17.17, but the product is not yet available. So again, we're targeting mid-March timeframe to have that generally released. All right, so let's take a look real quick. A couple of little technology tidbits while we're here in factory doing a mobile access to the baseline factory. So I've got here, this is the valve decoder that is unpotted so that you can see the technology inside and see that there is a computer board with circuitry in the inside. It's not just a plastic black box. There's real technology inside, and this is what we use to facilitate our true two-way communication over that two-wire path. So the controller talks to the decoder hears its command, performs its function, and then talks back to the controller to say that it did it what was intended, whether it's a test or an operation.
Yeah, I can't speak to that decoder, Chris, but some of the decoders have the ability to save information. So if you think about our flow sensor decoder, the water usage data, or that water odometer, is actually stored right inside the decoder itself.
Right. Yep. So there is some intelligence built into them, and that's why it is not the same as all two-wire, right? Baseline's two-wire technology is unique to our own technology and has some value add associated with it. So Dave Shane wants to know, let's see, you were saying that flow shows per sensor. If there are multiple control points per main, is total flow also shown?
Well, I don't believe in the controller view, we total the flow between devices. Every flow sensor records its own flow. I'm trying to think in pipe view if we do that at all.
So we're able to see flow by sensor and then see totalized usage for the site.
That's what it is.
Right?
Okay, right. Yeah, in the reporting.
Okay.
Yeah, but not in the controller view. That would be in the reporting section.
All right. This next thing that I want to show, it's going to take two hands, so I'll talk louder so you can hear me. But we've talked about an upcoming product that we're excited to release in 2021 called the Substation RV. And I happen to have the first prototype build of that product, so you know that it is real. And that it is coming to market. So they just built this as a test build last week, just to prove fit and format. And if I open it up, you can see there's a pretty sexy piece of hardware inside, right? That includes a control board, terminal strip for wiring up the 4 conventional zone wires. And it includes the cell modem communication card so that we can communicate with it, network it in the IoT cloud.
Nice. So, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So the manufacturing team is obviously excited about it as well. And it is coming to pass as a legit product. So very good. All right, y'all. Quick question on how it's powered. So the Substation RB can be powered with direct AC power, or it can also be connected to solar. So yes, there will be a solar option available, Mr. White. So hopefully that made you excited. Just as you were typing that in, I was going to bring that up. So will be available in a solar configuration also. Oh, all right. We're at the bottom of the hour.
Cool.
Okay. So we appreciate everybody joining us for another exciting episode of Tech Talk Tuesday. Thanks for taking the time to join us. Hopefully you got a little bit of insight into the baseline manufacturing floor. And we look forward to getting more of you as our clients and customers here for fly-in, for training, for networking, and of course, some good craft beer drinking as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, all right. We will rejoin next week. Same place, same time. What's the topic for next week?
Brandon from support's going to join us, and we're going to talk about log files and the mysteries they hold and how they can help both of us.
Yeah, that's all.
A lot to unpack there with the log files.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. Thanks, everybody. Go out and have a good week. Work hard.
Okay. Thanks.
See you later, guys.